Miss Chavon Brown.
Again, my name is Chavon Brown. I am Miss Magnolia, Georgia 2026. I stand on the platform Her Story Matters from Victims to Survivors, where essentially I aim to change the stigma of women who are survivors, not victims of sexual assault, domestic violence, or women's health. Because I truly believe that through transparency, sisterhood, and education, we can change a lot that goes on in the community for individuals who are affected by those things.
What would you say to, I guess, like parents of young children? What would you say to them for that they can kind of do for prevention of like something happening to their child?
One of those big pillars that I like to always talk about with individuals is education. If you don't know better, you can't essentially do better. And I know, of course, sexual assault, domestic violence, and then health issues are very like deep topics to talk about. But being able to have those conversations, especially with kids at a young age, even if it's some of like the smaller ages or the smaller areas, like good touch, bad touch, or making sure that you have a good line of communication with kids to understand, hey, if somebody does something that makes you feel uncomfortable, or does something that you feel like is an issue, you can always come and talk to me. That can kind of like change things because a lot of times what we see is that individuals or predators who end up targeting, young kids in these areas, they look for the kids who are overlooked, the kids who are not spoken to as much. The kids that kind of fade into the background and don't have anybody to go to. So if parents are ever thinking or having issues of, I want to make sure that my child is protected, but I feel like they may be too young, make sure you're having those conversations with them at an early age to make sure that you have that good streamline. So if anything does happen or if they feel uncomfortable, they can come and speak to you.
Yeah, education is definitely key and can definitely save a lot of people. So I do have another question. I guess for teen girls who have gone through anything that's like along those lines, um, how would you like empower them?
I always like to tell individuals that what happened to them isn't their everything. That's why I like to change the word from victims to survivors. A lot of times, not saying of course everything, but a lot of times some of these things is mindset thinking. If you believe that you're a victim, you're going to act like you're a victim. That's going to pretty much engulf your entire life. So by changing the mindset of understanding that you are a survivor, this is something that I was targeted from. It happened to me, but it doesn't make me. That allows you to be more empowered in things and be able to use your story, use your voice, use your testimony to help others. So with young girls going through this, feeling like, hey, I don't know what's going on. Of course, first look into your resources, know who you can talk to. If there's not anybody you can talk to, of course, like I said, go and find whether it's an advocacy group in your local area or it's the suicide prevention or sexual assault awareness or domestic violence hotline. Going in, reaching, educating yourself, and finding those resources that'll best help you.
Yes, I definitely think that's really important. Community is key during traumatic situations, definitely to connect with people. And it's really interesting because my teacher recently told our class, she told us that 1 in 10 girls actually usually experience some sort of like assault. So these type of things happen, unfortunately, more than we think that they do. Also, I think that girls who are survivors like have a community around them that they might not know about. But yeah. So I do have another question. With your impact in STEM, how do you plan on bringing STEM to the crown?
So I love always being able to, work with different people in my local area or around the community with bringing resources in to individuals who, again, don't know their resources. One thing that I kind of have in the works, and I'm not going to talk too much about it, kind of in a sense. I previously worked at Wellstar Cobb. I live in Georgia, but I previously worked at Wellstar Cobb in the state of Georgia as a para-operative nursing assistant. And during that time being in the operating room, I was able to meet so many different individuals, but also see kind of like the partnership of how corporations and businesses and hospitals like Wellstar and other ones in the area are able to pretty much come and educate the masses. So one big thing, like I said, again, I'm going to keep saying education because I truly believe that it's the foundation of everything. Again, if you don't know better, you won't do better. So being able to bring in these hospitals, these organizations that have all this different information that will help benefit the community and benefit people that need help is something that I want to bring to the crown. And being able to see like, hey, wow, there's so many different different things that I can do, even if it's not in normal sense. Because of course, you know about being a doctor, a nurse, all these different things. But there's so many things in these healthcare and other places that you can do, like these healthcare roles and jobs that people can do. And being able to find these people and meet them allows them to also see a brighter future for themselves. Because hey, I could see myself in that role. I might
Right.
not have seen myself as Dr. Chavon, but I might have been radiologist Chavon,
Mm.
or I might have worked as a CNA, or I might have done these other things. And by bringing those in the community, I think it could really help all of us as a whole.
Yes, definitely. And it's really interesting because there are so many different types of fields in STEM, not only doctor or nurse. Like you said, you can be a radiologist or really whatever you would like to be. So I'm curious now, what do you know yet what you want to be in the future?
Yes, so my career path has kind of always changed and kind of like most pageant girls, we always like to do everything, whether it's being a serial entrepreneur, we want to play 17 instruments and play 92 sports and speak 16 different languages. But for the longest while, my head has kind of settled on because, again, I do have a business background. So I originally got my degree in business management, and I graduated from my lovely HBCU, Alabama State University, in 2024. But with that degree, and of course, also working in the hospital, one thing that one of my managers had told me when I was on a shift, and I told her a little bit more about what I was, doing and what my background was, she was like, Siobhan, understand that my boss, and she was a nurse practitioner in particular, understand that my boss and people running this hospital are not other nurses and doctors. They're the businessmen and women like you. They're the ones that make the decisions. They make the tough decisions on how we can serve people and what we can do. So she told me to look a little more into that. So, from my experience, it's looking like the best route for me, being able to use my business and, of course, my love for STEM in the medical field. I'm thinking of opening up my own medical group where I'll be able to open up like an OBGYN, a dermatologist clinic, all these different things that allows individuals, especially in underrepresented communities and places of that nature, to get and receive treatment in different ways and different forms. Because one thing about me, I have eczema. And I know it's kind of hard to tell, but it's over my entire body. And
Mm.
one of the really big issues when I was younger is I had to learn to really love the skin that I was in. But
Right.
when you have giant eczema patches that are turning your complexion six light colors to light, it's kind of hard to feel comfortable. And
Right.
with a lot of the medication, a lot of the steroids they give you, it does not help that. So I want to go in and be able to figure out other ways, alternative ways to be able to love your skin and feel better on the outside. Because normally when you feel better on the outside, you feel better on the inside. And that just affects and helps your entire mood and of course everything that you have going on.
Definitely with eczema in patients of color, it's very interesting because I spoke about that with Emory University and the CDC as well, in STEM competitions, and I actually got the opportunity to speak in front of like a panel of like a bunch of doctors at Emory about
Oh
the
wow.
about the misdiagnoses of dermatological conditions in patients of
Mhm.
color, eczema, psoriasis, it's really it's really unfortunate because it does appear differently in patients of color. And I recently did a lot of research at Morehouse School of Medicine this summer
Mhm.
because I'm from Atlanta too. I live in Georgia. But I did a lot of research there, and a lot of the textbooks unfortunately don't show pictures of patients of color having these conditions. And I think that that's one of the things that causes, I guess, like the lack of knowledge about these conditions. So have you experienced, I guess, like when you first got treated, was it just like smooth sailing, or did you experience any type of, um, I guess, like misdiagnosis?
For a while, they kind of knew what was going on, but my main issue ended up being the medicine that they
Mhm.
gave me. So, if you've done any research or know anything about steroids, when you put them on your skin, they tend to lighten them.
Okay.
So, and I have pictures, like, I'm not afraid to show anybody, but my face would break out. It would scale really, really bad. It moved up to my hair. So, I had psoriasis as well.
Mm.
And then the eczema would just break out in hives. Like, it was contact, I had contact dermatitis, there was a lot of different stuff that was going on. And every cream they gave me would either lighten my skin, or the stuff that could actually work, it would burn and lighten my skin, or the stuff that actually could work was too expensive.
Mm.
So that really affected me for a while because, of course, having little trial stuff and all that other stuff. after a while that doesn't work out. After a while that doesn't do much.
Mhm.
And because of that, I had to figure out some other way to, heal my skin. So I started doing a lot more research to figure out what happens, because also with me being darker skinned, there's not a lot of makeup that helps cover up some of
Right.
these issues. So I had to figure out how to heal my physical skin because there's not much else that I could do.
I do have a question I have a question specifically for pageant girls. So I compete in the National American Miss Pageant. I am Fayetteville's junior teen, and my peers and we are going to be heading to Orlando, Florida in about 3 weeks to compete at nationals. And so I do have a question for I guess like the high achieving women and young girls in STEM who are also competing in pageants. I know STEM and pageantry are two very, very high demand, I guess, like things to do. And so
Mhm.
it's kind of hard to balance both. Like, I found myself being like, how am I going to do all this schoolwork and all this like extracurricular stuff and my pageant at the same time? So, how have you found balancing both STEM and pageantry?
So, and it's of course, like you said, it's such a hard thing trying to be a high achieving woman in pageantry, trying to do your most as well as being active in the other areas. But truthfully, it comes to a point of organization and understanding what you need to do when you need to do it. So for myself, I'm also autistic. I stay up late at night. And with that being said, it's easier for me to just, when the world is shut off, everything is going on, for me to just sit down, buckle in, and do all of my work. So I kind of plan my day around when I'm gonna have the most energy. Like right after this call, I'm gonna hop in my car and head to the gym to go get a
Mhm.
quick workout session in. But being able to, when I'm having these like late night conversations or things, that I'm able to sit down and plan stuff out ahead of time, and
Right.
making sure, like, of course, anything like saying, of course, it's the winter months, so making sure I'm getting my supplements and my vitamins and my veggies and my fruits and everything that helps my body feed and fuel to be able to
Mhm.
give me energy, so that I'm able to block off certain times. So, okay, this is time for pageant work. I'm going to give my Tuesdays from 2 to 4 for pageant work, or my
Mhm.
Wednesdays from 5 to 6, or I'm going to sit at 9 o'clock at night until I can't go anymore to do anything else. And of course, it differs for everyone. But by
Right.
being organized and knowing where you best work or how you best function is the best way to be able to kind of juggle all these different things.
So
Mhm.
the name of my organization is Faith and Formulas, and I know that you are a God-fearing woman. And so because of that, I wanted to ask you how God has been a part of your journey to the crown, and also how he has been involved in your STEM journey as well.
So before I do anything, me and God normally have to have a very long conversation, because if he knows anything about his daughter, he understands that I want to do everything at the same time always. But one thing that I've learned is, of course, God's timing is perfect, and whatever is for you is for you. So he'll guide whatever path or whatever steps that I need when I'm doing whatever it is that I do. And originally when I started in the Miss America opportunity, it was on a whim. I wanted to join another, pageant system. My best friend, she's a part of the Miss Grand pageant organization, and she was like, hey, you're new to pageantry, join here. For some reason, no matter what I did, I worked, I talked to people, like I did everything, and it just wasn't working. It just
Mhm.
wasn't happening. No matter what I did, no matter what was happening, it wasn't working out.
Mhm.
So one particular day I was working at Wellstar, and I was like, let me look into the local system at Miss America in Georgia. And it ended up being the one that was closest to me. It was the Miss Cobb County. That was the first ever Miss America local that I competed in last year. And literally the day that it was everything was supposed to go in was the day that I had finally looked it up. So I prayed, I took it from a sign from God. I had 2 weeks to prepare. So I called one of my old friends from college, because I'm a singer. I'm part of a music fraternity. I called some of my old like line brothers, line cousins, and said, hey, I need you to craft this track for me. I ordered a Fashion Nova interview outfit and then a sheen dress for, my evening gown. And I kind of just stepped out on faith and did it. And
Mm,
had I not done that, I wouldn't have met some of the most amazing girls and it wouldn't have changed my trajectory. Because truthfully and honestly, as much as everyone wants to say, hey, I see myself here, sometimes you just don't. But of
right.
course, like I said, God orders your steps and he knows the end and the beginning. So because of that, I made sure that in everything that I do, I give him reverence, I give him glory. So for the last year, at Miss America, I sung the song "How Great Thou Art" because I told God, if you're able to get me to the stage to compete in Miss Georgia, I am going to give you reverence. I am going to sit here and I'm going to exalt your name on the largest stage one of the largest stages that I've ever been on. So I did that. It was a great experience, and pretty much just being in even just science and being in pageants has really strengthened my faith because you of course know, in any other young girl, it's hard. It
Yeah.
is definitely hard to compete in these pageants. You sometimes feel like you're not enough. There's imposter syndrome. You're working hard. It's like so very hard, and you've not seen the results that you want. But truly, by trusting God and giving it to Him, it takes away that stress and gives
Mm,
you a peace to understand that if He wants it for me, it's going to be for me. No man, He opens the door that no man can close. So by going into my pageant and going to my systems, I know, okay, this might have been the plan that I had for my life, but now let's reevaluate and see what the plan that God has for my life. Because whatever it is that He has for me is better than I could ever think, thought, or imagine.
right. I love that. And that really hits very close to home for me because I prepared for the Georgia State pageant
Mm-hmm.
for like half a year, almost a full year, about like 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I was super passionate about it because last year was my first year doing pageantry as well. And so, I went into it, I was like having fun and everything. And then I made it to nationals last year and I was super happy. And then I realized, wait, I think I have a passion for pageantry. So I prepared all the way from as soon as I left that stage and came back to Atlanta, I was like, okay, let me start preparing. So last November to all the way to this July to the pageant,
Mm-hmm.
I started preparing and I was so invested in it. And so then I went to the pageant, everything was going great. And I was like, okay, like I have a good shot at this. I'm prepared. And I was like, it's all in God's hands. And when I stepped out on the stage, they called my name for third runner up. And my
Wow.
heart just, I mean, it was good because the year before I was in the top 10 and now I'm in the top five. But at that moment, I didn't even see that progress. All I saw was the fact that my name wasn't called for the position that I wanted it to be called for. But then I got home and God had a different calling for me. And I was like, okay, I think I opened up to Ecclesiastes 3:1. I'm not sure if that's the exact.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's in Ecclesiastes though. But
Mm-hmm.
it said like everything happens for a reason, and I was like, oh my gosh, like he's speaking directly to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I literally just flipped open the Bible and boom, it was right there. And so then I was like, okay, well, I'm being redirected. Like this isn't rejection, it's a redirection. And
Amen.
from there, I was like, I started coming up with different, just different things for myself to do, things that I was going to do if I was the queen. I still followed through with those things.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm going to nationals. And if this is for me, then it's for me. But I know
Mm-hmm.
that there's a seat, there's a crown with my name on it.
Mm-hmm. And it's so amazing to have, that reassurance from God because you never know what God was trying to protect you from. Like you
Mm,
said, it wasn't rejection, it's redirection. Again, we don't know, we can't see what God sees. He's omniscient, he's omnipotent. So I don't know what plans he has for me. And you could have seen yourself as like, hey, because I've had some girls in a similar situation where they wanted one particular crown, and because they didn't get it, they were eligible to do something else. And had they won that original seat or had they been in that original position, the door would have never been able to be open for them to even sit in these other places. That's why I have some like really big stuff coming up that hopefully you can be a part of. I'll definitely send you some information.
okay.
But I have some really big stuff coming up very soon based off of the book of Esther,
Mm,
and of course the verse Esther 4:14, created for such a time as this.
yes.
And if anyone of course knows the book of Esther, they understand what the importance of, because she was a queen and
Mhm.
she had to make some very tough choices
Mhm.
in her position that not only saved her life but also saved all of her people.
Mm.
And essentially in that particular verse is talking about how Esther was created for such a time as this, such a
Mm.
time to bless her people, such a time to be a queen that they needed. It
Mm.
might not have been something that she had seen, especially with her background, especially with her upbringing. Who would have thought that somebody like Esther would now be able to rule over this entire nation? And so, with what I'm doing, it's kind of to encourage individuals, and I can't speak too much about it,
Yeah.
but you will see it pop up soon. But to
Yes.
encourage individuals that there is a plan and you have been created for a purpose for such a time as this.
As
So,
this.
kind of just in that situation, I definitely can see how that's kind of like, well, why didn't I get this? But then you never know. You never know who saw you, because
Right.
even a small situation, not to ramble, some pageants that I thought I should have won or I should have placed higher at, I realized that had I wanted this pageant, I would have never ran into this individual that then
Mm.
put me on the trajectory to have this conversation. And
Mm.
also understanding that some of the blessings that I have aren't just for me, because my blessings aren't for me. My
Right.
gifts aren't for me. They're for other people to
Right.
help and to steward and to bring more people and more disciples to Christ.
Right.
So that's something that my pastor, I go to 2819 church. My pastor, Philip Anthony Mitchell, talks about a
Yeah.
lot. Of course, that's what our church is based off, is bringing, spreading the gospel and
Yeah.
bringing people more and becoming disciples into the body of Christ. So, just all of that to say that you never know what's going on, but I'm so excited to hear about you going to nationals in the
Thank
next
you.
couple of weeks. I will definitely be cheering you on. I'm
You.
not really familiar with, you said the NAM pageant system, correct?
Yes.
Can you
Yeah.
tell me a little bit more about it? Like, I've heard about it, I've been interested in learning more, but like, what is your experience thus far been with it?
National American Miss is basically a pageant system that's all about confidence and empowering girls to come as they are, really. There's no fit, I guess, like look that they're looking for. They're just looking for individuality.
Mm-hmm.
We have different types of preliminary competitions that are optionals. Girls can sign up for the competition that they see is, the best fit for them, whether
Mm-hmm.
that's actress, spokesmodel, runway, top model, a bunch of different competitions, just to give recognition to the girl for who they truly are. One of the competitions that are my favorite is academic achievement, because
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people sometimes think, oh, pageants are all about the outside, the outside. So it's nice that they also value, your intellect and who you
Mm-hmm.
are in the classroom. And I've won the academic achievement award before.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So yeah, it's definitely something that I really enjoy doing. I love NAM. It's built my confidence so much, my interview skills, and it's led me to many different opportunities. So yeah.
I love that. Okay.
Thank
So I'm
you.
definitely excited. I would say I know my sister, she competed in Alabama a couple of years back, but I wasn't able to be in attendance because we were both working. There was a lot going on. But I always love meeting NAM girls. They're so, full of life. And I love that it gives you so many different opportunities and options to showcase what's the best about you, that it doesn't just put you into one box or into one place that you have to fit.
Yeah, yeah, it's really amazing. What advice would you give to someone who's younger than you? Like what faith-based advice would you give to them if they're trying to balance a bunch of things at once?
I would have to say you have to trust God in everything you do. And I know that seems very generic or very kind of small, but it's genuinely the truth. So often we try and do things with our own power. We're like, okay, well, I can do this and I can do this and I can't do this and I can't do that. And again, going back to putting yourself in a box, that's essentially what happens. You could get on a stage and look at somebody who's taller than you or has longer legs or has more pageant experience and think, I'll never be like her. Or you can get and underestimate somebody who's brand new to pageantry and be like, oh, well, I can beat her. I can do this. And then when things don't work because you tried to do it to your best ability. Now you're looking at yourself like, like, why wasn't I good enough? But by
Yeah.
trusting God and by having those conversations, being like, Lord, again, if it's for you, it's for you. So, Lord, if this is for me, If this is the place that you want me to be, let it happen. If
Right.
not, I trust you enough to understand that wherever it is that I'm going to go or whatever it is that I'm going to do, you're going to follow me, and you're not even just going to follow, but you're going to lead me into that place, and you're going to guide me, and you're going to sit side by side at every table.
Right.
Because a lot of time, I don't know if you've ever heard this saying, but God doesn't call the qualified, he
He
qualifies the
qualifies the
called.
called. Yeah. Yep.
hmm So you could think, like, even myself, I say this in a lot of my interviews, but when I first started, all I had was a pair of Amazon heels, a Fashion Nova dress, and some walking lessons from YouTube. And I was
Mm-hmm.
going against girls who have been competing since they were two, since they came out the womb. They've been preparing for Miss America, Miss Universe, Miss Grand, Miss Earth, Miss Cosmo, all these different things. And I
Right.
always used to look at myself and be like, I don't deserve a seat at this table because I know with my merit, I'm not good enough. But I had to remember that it's not me, it's God. They
Right.
need to see God in me. They need to understand that this isn't Chavon sitting at the
Right.
table. This is God sitting at the table using Chavon as a vessel. And
Mm.
if God is with me through all this, then who can be against me? So
Mm.
whenever
Yeah.
young girls are being discouraged, they feel like, hey, I don't know if I can do this. Trust God because He's never going to steer you wrong.
What you said about it's not you at the table, it's God, that really resonated with me because I feel like us on our own, we can't do it. Like no matter what it is, no matter what we're trying to pursue, I feel like if you're by yourself,
hmm
you're not connected to the bigger source, but when you're connected to God, it's like he's the one fighting your battles. He's the
hmm
one, laying out your path for you. So I definitely really love what you said about just like trusting God through the process, definitely.
Most definitely. It'll definitely change your life the day you finally surrender and be like, God, you got it.
Mhm.
You'll
Yeah.
see a difference.
Yeah. And I feel also too that even sometimes when we do gain this imposter syndrome, I think it's also good to know that we're wherever we are for a reason. And maybe
hmm
the reason is not to get a crown, or maybe the reason is, but I feel like the reason is always for the impact rather than the title. No matter if that's
Yes.
like, yeah, no matter if that's like a job or anything that you're trying to get to, because in life we're going to have a lot of like different competitions and a lot of stuff that we're trying to reach for, but I think it's always about the journey and the experience and the people that you impact, the people that impact you. I think it's really about that human connection rather than like the end goal, I guess.
And that's so true. So you definitely understand, like, ultimately you never know what it is. Cause like I said, it might not be God's will for me to be Miss America. I don't believe that, of course, but it might not be God's will for me to be Miss America. But I do know that whenever I do go into every local, every state, every national competition, I'm going there to impact somebody. I'm
Mm.
going there to lead somebody for them to see a representation of Christ through me. I want
Right.
them to know me for my faith. I want them to know that I trusted God so that they can one day do the same thing.
Yes, I love that. And I love, having sisters in Christ because I know when I interview some people, I'm like, okay, I know I interviewed you because God told me to. Because, like, there's just always like this connection, um, between believers. And I just really love that. So, thank you so much for coming on my podcast. This has been
Of
an amazing
course.
interview. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to us, connecting later on. Thank you, guests, for having me. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed and stay connected with Siobhan in the bio. I have some her acts so you guys can stay connected with her. Bye guys.
Bye.